Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. A few days ago, we had a conversation regarding Dragon Age Veilguard's financial outlook and basically the disappointment EA has in regards to its sales numbers. Many of you agreed with my commentary, but there are also many of you who felt like I was biased and that I didn't take an accurate look at how some of the previous Dragon Age games performed. PC Gamer has come out with an article regarding their thoughts on Veilguard's performance and their overall outlook for the future of the Dragon Age series. I think it's very, very well done, very substantive. So we're going to spin the block on this topic one more time and talk through it. So the PC Gamer article is titled, "Is this the end of Dragon Age? Veilguard was good, but Bioware needed an all-timer, and I'm nervous about what's next." Now this was written by Ted Litchfield, and I just want to say up front, Ted, in my opinion, you did an amazing job with this article. I feel like this is one of the most, once again, substantive and non-biased breakdowns of the whole Veilguard and Dragon Age situation that I've seen thus far. Just really, really cool work. Of course, I'm going to leave a link down below. Highly recommend all of you go ahead and click this. I'm going to talk through quite a bit of the article, but obviously not all of it. So go ahead, click on the link so you can check out everything for yourself. So he starts out saying the obvious. Dragon Age the Veilguard did not sell well, at least not well enough for publisher Electronic Arts. 3 months out from launch, the Veilguard missed its sale target by nearly 50%, 1.5 million players versus a projected 3 million. The Veilguard reviewed well enough in the case of PC Gamer, IGN, some other places, whereas some other content creators obviously did not have a high opinion of it, but it sold worse than BioWare's notorious live service flop, Anthem. Now the future of a studio that was once synonymous with AAA RPGs is more in doubt than at any point in its post-Inquisition Wilderness era. One of my immediate thoughts was that 3 million sales was somehow an unattainable figure for the Veilguard to hit. The damn suits moving the goalposts on honest artists once again. On Blue Sky, industry analyst Matt Piscatella wrote that sometimes sale targets are adjusted to account for longer or more expensive development than were originally planned for, even if everyone involved in the adjusting know that the resulting target is outlier unreasonable. So I talked about this in my last video, that I felt like the way EA is framing this is deeply egregious and unfair, considering, in my opinion, expecting 3 million in sales from Veilguard within 2 months was not reasonable. And even more importantly, a lot of the issues happening with Veilguard's development I place squarely at the feet of EA because they wanted so badly for it to be a live service game. I truly believe if BioWare had just been able to make it a single player RPG from the start, the way Dragon Age has always been, Veilguard would have turned out to be a significantly better game. And there, of course, there's nothing in EA's statement that really acknowledges that or acknowledges their role in what's happening right now. But Ted goes on to say, forget about recent mega hits like Cyberpunk, Baldur's Gate, or Elden Ring. Looking at EA and BioWare's history of single-player games, the Veilguard's performance strikes me as pretty dire. A particularly damning comparison is Anthem, which undersold a 6 million unit target with 5 million copies moved by the end of its first month and a half after launch. Jedi Fallen Order, the game that convinced EA to give single player another chance after its dalliance with live service, sold 8 million units in 3 months. The reason for the season, Dragon Age Origins, hit 3.2 million in 4 months back in the day. The Veilguard underperformed compared to prior Dragon Age games, BioWare's best-selling series, with Inquisition racking up 11 million players according to former studio producer Mark Dara, as well as EA's other recent big swing single-player games, despite positive reviews and being attached to an established popular series. There are a few factors I think we can point to that really hurt the game. So I talked about this issue before and made it clear that I feel like Dragon Age has never been a mainstream game. Never. Dragon Age Inquisition was obviously a big hit. People made comments on my last video saying that I wasn't accurately representing the numbers for Origins fairly because it hit 3 million in the first couple of months, but obviously it would have sold more over time. My issue with that is, if its overall sales numbers was significantly larger than the 3 million, then I feel like Bioware or EA would say that. Like Inquisition sold 2 million up front, but they don't mention the 2 million anymore. They mention the 11 million that it has now. To me, the reason that they keep mentioning the 3 million is that Origin's overall numbers are not that much larger than the 3 million it got up front. In fact, the only other numbers that are provided regarding how much Origins actually sold was that they said they sold 1 million units of downloadable content. I've never heard a developer mention how much downloadable content a game is sold. So again, the fact that they don't go past the 3 million units says to me Origins sold 3 million units, especially since in Dragon Age 2, in my opinion, I know some of you don't agree, but in my opinion, Dragon Age 2 was a significant deviation from Dragon Age Origins. If Origins was a massive hit, they would have just spun the block on it again. All of which is to say, expecting Veilguard to be this big, huge, massive hit, considering Bioware's reputation, everything that happened, and that Dragon Age isn't this massive mainstream series to begin with, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's obvious even Ted disagrees here and feels like based on prior numbers, Veilguard should have sold more. But I'm sorry, when I look at the exact same data, to me, it just doesn't make sense. So then he gets into the factors that he believes people will point to that really hurt Veilguard's sales. Now, one he's worried that will get overblown in the coming days by both triumphal right-wingers and self-conscious liberal gamers is some kind of tedious go woke, go broke parable based on the Veilguard's much publicized trans and non-binary representation. Bioware has always been the socially progressive RPG studio. Mass Effect's Bush-era fascist militarism aside, Bioware has prioritized LGBTQ representation in particular for more than 20 years, with a further stab at a lesbian romance in 2003's Knights of the Old Republic, quietly vetoed by LucasArts. So yeah, Knights of the Republic, Jaheira, Bioware wanted you to be able to have the ability to engage in a lesbian romance with her, and LucasArts shot that down because back in 2003, it was not popular to have gay romances in your game, and yet Bioware was fighting for it. And I know some people are going to hate me bringing this up, but I feel like we need to be factual about this, all right? This is why David Gator called people tourists. Because from his perspective, we've always been this company. And the non-binary and trans content in Veilguard is a natural continuation of what was already in Dragon Age. It started with you being able to have gay romances, then it moved into everybody being bisexual in the game. Then it moved to, well, we have some gay romances, we have pansexual romances, and we have a trans character that we talk to on a regular basis as well. And then finally it moved to, all right, you straight up have a non-binary character, and you can be non-binary or trans yourself if that's your choice. It was not like, it's not out of left field. And so it totally made sense when David Gator looked at all the controversy and people talking about it as if this was a major issue and said, you clearly haven't been here. Because if you had been here, you would know this is who we've always been. These are the type of games we've always made. Dragon Age, and by extension Bioware, has always been like that. The culture war rage is just one facet of an overall inauspicious narrative surrounding the game. The Veilguard was rebooted twice in development, renamed once, saw the departure of multiple big-name developers closely associated with the inception of the franchise, and arrived almost 10 years to the date after the prior entry in the series. The Veilguard needed to be an unambiguous all-timer to transcend Bioware's bruised reputation. It turned out fine in the critical consensus, pretty good overall, I'd argue, but not a return to the glory days. Obviously, if you see my review, I would argue it's not pretty good. It's really not pretty good at all. I don't think it's trash the way a lot of people like to term it. There are absolutely redeemable aspects of Veilguard, but I 100% believe it's the weakest game in the series, and there are multiple aspects of the game that are weaker than they should be, notwithstanding the multiple reboots and the various developers kind of coming in and out to help work on it. In a lot of ways, the Veilguard feels like a soft reboot for the series. Fewer returning characters than in Dragon Age 2 or Inquisition, minimal choices carried over, and a fresh cast and a new corner of the world. This was a bet on attracting new players with an assumption that series fans would still be along for the ride. As for Dragon Age faithful, I can only speak anecdotally, but everyone in my life has been circumspect or outright hostile to the Veilguard. PC gamers' own Dragon Age likers have been put off by its art style, its combat, its storytelling, and its breaking of the chain of choices between Origins, Dragon Age 2, and Inquisition. My friends and loved ones have similarly expressed that Veilguard felt removed from the games that got them into the series, resolving them to an "I'll get it on sale" attitude. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of Dragon Age faithful who have serious issues with Veilguard that have nothing to do with culture war stuff. It has to do with, at its core, the quality of the game itself doesn't measure up to previous games in the series, and most importantly, it doesn't stay true to what has always defined the series, being able to import your world and have some of those choices actually impact your playthrough. Sorry, usually I put my phone on silent, but I'm on call today, so I can't do that. My bad. That stuff is really, really important. And so it's unfortunate that we got very little of that in Veilguard. And as I mentioned in my review, even the cameos that they did choose to do, a lot of them just weren't all that great. Then next, Ted circles back to a area that is a major source of contention for me. Still, I don't think things had to turn out as bad as they did. I find myself contemplating the cancellation of Joplin, the original pitch for Dragon Age 4, as a major turning point. It was scrapped in favor of a live service-oriented Dragon Age that would then be retooled into the Veilguard when EA realized that maybe live servicifying everything wasn't a good idea. Even if Andromeda and Anthem still turned out the same in this timeline, I think the studio would be in a much healthier place now if it had managed to release a single-player Dragon Age game boasting more of the series' original talent around 2019 to 2020. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is wholly on EA. That is EA once again trying to force single-player studios to do something they're just not built to do. And I see it as a major, major factor in all of this. Now, to me, there are two major factors in how bad Veilguard is. One is the development hell that it went through because EA tried to force it into being a live service game, which wreaked havoc and caused a bunch of people to leave. And then the other factor, which I put squarely at the foot of Bioware, is that David Gator left. And David Gator, to me, was the heart and soul of Dragon Age, and there wasn't enough talent at the studio to make up for his absence to make Veilguard good. And David Gator was upfront and public that the reason he left is because he felt like Bioware, didn't mention EA, he said Bioware resented him and resented all of the money that went towards the writing. That is deeply unfortunate. That is absolutely looking your gift horse in the mouth and basically making the person who got you where you are feel like he's no longer welcome. It doesn't make any sense. It's deeply unfortunate, and it significantly contributed to the situation they're in now. But all I ask is that we talk about both sides. EA just putting up, well, they didn't get it done, they didn't make it happen, is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's disrespectful to the people that are there. Now, next up, Ted talks about what we spoke about in the last Veilguard related video. Mark Dara has confirmed that Bioware is now a one active project at a time studio. And then Ted goes on to say, in the best case scenario, Mass Effect 5 is 3 years away at a bare minimum. So any Dragon Age follow-up is a proposition for the 2030s. Holy shit. Like in my last video, I talked about, hey, Mass Effect 5, you know, it's going to be a couple years away. They're not even ready for the whole team to come over. But I didn't really put it in perspective like that. Like I said, Dragon Age wouldn't come out until afterwards. But I didn't think of it from the standpoint of like 2030s. Damn. The results from Veilguard have been so damaging for BioWare and for the Dragon Age series. Like, obviously, that Dragon Age team really should be getting to work on the next Dragon Age or doing something. But instead, they're all basically getting split up because there's no confidence that this team is capable of making a great game. I feel like they can. I'm hurt about this, to be honest with you. I'm hurt at the prospect that we might not get another Dragon Age. And this may not be based in reality, but personally, I'm a little annoyed that Mass Effect 5 seems to be so far behind. Am I wrong for feeling that way? Like, I feel like at this point, 3 more years? Wasn't it like 2 years ago we got the Liara trailer? And they were talking about Mass Effect 5 working on it even before then. This seems like a crazy amount of time that it's taking for them to pull Mass Effect 5 together. Maybe I'm wrong, and hey, I'm all about let them cook however long it takes in order for it to be right. I'm certainly not trying to rush anything. But man, the whole situation just seems really, really odd. Really, really odd. Let's just be real. It seems like things are in shambles. I know Gamble came out publicly and said, hey, everything's fine. We're working on it. But man, I'm really hope when Mass Effect 5 comes out, their stuff is together. I want to be able to see more BioWare games. So he goes on to say, where does the series even go at that point when it comes out in the 2030s? What choices carried over from the Veilguard will be worth accounting for by the time we hit the Mr. Beast presidential administration first or second term? What I know for sure is that things look worse than ever for one of my favorite studios, the one that got me into RPGs and PC gaming in the first place. It didn't have to be this way, but very clear, unforced errors in direction and management had left it one more shot to turn things around, if that. Once again, I feel like Ted, PC Gamer, did amazing work. I feel like that's just a great summary and wrap up. Like it's shaky ground. It feels like shaky ground, no question. And I think that's deeply unfortunate. Deeply unfortunate. I have been upfront. I feel like Veilguard should have been better, but I also don't agree that it's deserved the way that it's being characterized as a complete failure, a complete flop, trash, all of that. I just don't agree. I just don't agree. And I really hope that whatever financial loss has been taken due to Veilguard does not result in the closure of BioWare. At the very least, let them make Mass Effect 5. If Mass Effect 5 turns out to be a complete flop, nobody buys it, nobody cares about it, all right. Hey, look, okay, clearly this is a studio EA can no longer make money from. But please, let them make Mass Effect 5. At least provide an opportunity for BioWare to be able to dig its way out of this hole and try to get back to making fantastic classic RPGs that we've all come to know and love. Anyway, that's my video. This will probably be my last video really talking about this subject unless there's a major development that I feel like I have to jump on to. We're going to move on to other things. I don't particularly like talking about things that depress me. So hope all of you enjoy this video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.